No, still launching the wrong browser. Now my screen's appearing green. Okay, hang tight, folks. Working with Zoom. Oh, we are live. All right, welcome to the post-morning show, the unaffiliated follow-up to two-way morning meeting with Mark Halperin, Sean Spicer, and Dan Turrentine. Today is Friday, July 11th, 2025. Sorry for a little YouTube bugs there. Lots to talk about, folks. ML, what was that scoop you were given on Zoran? What was our fan Zoran doing?
It basically had a longer form interview, and he basically was explaining through a lot of talking in words that having a as he called it, a stranger with a firearm, a gun, is the last thing that a domestic violence situation needs, and they need somebody with that is not he was saying the police, which this is where I'll put my foot down. Now, you cannot attack this man on race or religion. That is a stupid fucking, excuse me, stupid dumb way to do that. That is all that Eric Adams is doing, and that is all that Cuomo is doing. This is the first thing that we see that will absolutely sink him as far as it goes. That will put the onus on how much of there is an evil little tyrant side to this DSA type individual. This is where if he can be attacked and brought down a peg or two, this is where this is where that comes in, and it's going to be on that the rent stabilization thing, the free buses, and the government ran grocery stores. Those are not going to do anything as an attack line. They're just not.
Mike, can you refresh everybody what was said? Because a bunch of us were arguing like
Oh yeah,
crazy wackos in the chat, and we all missed it.
it was an interview from the Free Beacon that they sat down, a longer form interview with Mom Donnie. And he basically was saying that a stranger with a gun should not be going to respond to a domestic violence situation. He also said, or if you're a homeless person in an area you shouldn't be or whatever, or in a couple other scenarios. But he was basically couching the police as a stranger with a gun to
Mhm.
come and respond to those type situations as fairly as I can put it out, aside putting my opinion aside.
Was
But
this
that's essentially what he said.
was this a
I mean,
recent was this recent like a couple days, or is this like on our
Guys,
I
it,
think it's new.
it's
I
in the
think
it's in I put the link to it in the chat. The article is
thank
new.
you.
The podcast was from July 2020.
Oh, okay, so it was from a while ago. All right, yeah.
Mm. But not like 15 years ago, still as a
Well,
politician.
that's what my worry is, because he was on this woke trip when everybody was on the woke trip. So
Right.
now, like, it's going to be looked at as like, okay, like he said a lot of crazy things back in 2020. Like everybody says crazy things back in 2020. So
Right.
that's, if it
I
was like done a week ago, totally different story.
I'm just gonna go out there and say that this guy is so slick with his talking that he can talk his way out of it. So it'll just be interesting how people are gonna try to make it stick.
Hey,
Mhm.
when your mother's a Bollywood director, you got to know how to act, folks.
I
Luke
think
from China.
Oh, yeah, I'm pissed off because well, one, I'm pissed off at Sean because of the because I really want to talk about why people are so pissed about Epstein. Because I mean, the whole point of the Epstein thing is we have zero trust in our government, and we voted for Donald Trump because we said, hey, we don't trust the Democrats, we don't trust the Republicans, maybe we can trust you. And this is just a big FU to everybody who voted for Donald Trump. So that's why I'm really pissed off about it. But for this guy to say this is kind of the problem is like part of me wants him to be voted in so that everybody realizes like why nobody should ever vote for a socialist ever again. But then there's also part of me that's like, no, we should never have people think that it was okay to be a socialist and have the guy voted in. So this guy is just super toxic right now. I mean, he is radioactive. And if AOC does not say anything in the next 24 hours, she is just going downhill, and it's going to be a continuation of the problems that the Democratic Party needs to get away from. These far left people are killing the Democratic Party. I mean, if the Democratic Party was more like Dan Turrentine, I think the Democratic Party would have way better opportunities to defeat JD Vance and other people. But it's not. It's just this is insane.
Thank you for that, Luke. Vincent?
Well. As you all know, I have been talking about the opposition research, and I've been telling all of you, this is going to be, as we used to say in the street, fugly, which means fucking ugly. And I've told everybody that somebody like Curtis Sweewa, everybody just says, oh, Curtis Sweewa, he's a cartoon character. Forget it. He got 30% of the vote last time he ran. So Curtis Sweewa is connected with people that hate Mondami. You have the enemies of the enemies all coming together. Cuomo's got the opposition research. Sweewa's got the opposition research. Adams got the opposition research. They're raising tens of millions of dollars to challenge this guy. And hey, and then many of you have said to me in the chat and on this, oh, the more you attack him, the more famous he's going to become. Okay, if you think that, but did you hear Dan this morning? Whoa, whoa, you heard Dan. And the other thing about listening to that clip, and he is a slick person, he said black and Hispanic. I think he said black. I don't know if he said Hispanic, but he might have said brown. Or
He said,
he so what he was saying was he was trying to appeal to the black and Hispanics in that statement. Now, as Dan said, this runs completely completely different than what the police do to help people. Okay, so it's only July. These campaigns really start after Labor Day. They are going to be throwing everything at him. And look, maybe he'll win. I don't know, but they're going to throw everything at this guy. That's just the way. And a lot of you don't live in the area. You don't know what's going. You don't hear what's going on every day on the street.
No, thank you for that, Vincent. And I would just say for someone of his upper class background, okay, and supposedly enlightened back, it is unacceptable to invoke such classist, racist language. I'm just ashamed of a fellow South Asian or whatever. If you guys want to throw me in the identity politics bit, it's just that he's supposed to be of a more enlightened stock. He's supposed to be unifying people, not pitting race against race, class against class. Joshua from Virginia, what's on your mind?
Why? You totally threw me off track here, Raul. What does that mean? He's supposed to be of a more enlightened stock.
His mother, Mira Nair, is a monsoon wedding. If you watch that, in other words, the promise of these folks, supposedly progressive, whatnot, right, is the opposite of what he's saying. It's a sharp, snake tongue, right?
Okay, all right, but okay, all right. So you're just talking about
if Steven Spielberg's son was running for office, you would expect something. Just hypotheticals.
No. What are you talking about?
Okay.
What are you even talking about, dude? No, he's a progressive and his stock in trade is identity politics. That's not more enlightened.
Fair enough. But again, the background, I'm just pointing people. What did the New York mayor say? The New York, Eric Adams, he grew up poor versus Zoran studied poor.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Is Curtis wait, hold on. What is his name? Who is the Republican runner?
Curtis Sweewa.
Curtis Sweewa? Is that JoJo?
He's been on the radio in New York City, and I know you're all going to say, no one listens to the radio. Yeah.
Is that?
He's been on the radio in New York City as the founder of that group for 50 years. Okay.
Is that JoJo's dad, or did I just make a really cringy, I just make a really cringy joke? I love that I got Andrij.
It's not far off at all.
With his little red beret, love it.
Yeah, but
Look,
he got 30% of the vote last time he ran.
I mean, so what do you think he's going to get this time with a three-way race against
Well, all these people in the
Adams and
media, just completely discount him and say, "Oh, he's a cartoon figure." Oh,
A
blah, blah.
Republican is never going to win New York City mayor. It's just
Yeah,
not going to happen.
I
So
mean,
that's why they discount him. It's not that he's also not the best candidate. He's a little bit of a goofball, but
yeah,
right.
right.
but a Republican isn't. Those days are gone. The days of Trump, a Republican will never win New York City mayor. It's
Oh,
either
she's right.
either going to be Mamdani or
Blasio got 80% of the vote, and then remember, Bloomberg was a Republican, and then he became a Democrat. That's how he served
I
3
No,
believe
terms.
the other
No,
way
he was an
around.
independent. Yeah, he was an independent though, wasn't he? Didn't
He
No, he
run as
started
an
off.
independent?
He was a Republican when
No,
he
but
ran,
he was a
Bloomberg
and then
registered he,
served mayor as independent.
he was
He
a
was
registered Democrat who jumped onto the Republican ticket to become mayor because he could never win as a Democrat, and then
right.
later
Mhm,
on he became an independent.
mhm.
And then he also spent $50 million to change the laws because
Right.
he was term limited. So he
Yeah.
spent $50 million to change the laws so he can run a third time.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
hold on. Haley, did you get a chance to say your point? You had your hand
well, basically, I just know, like, when people say like nothing's going to stick to Mamdani, it's because, like I mentioned before, all of the things that are resurfacing are coming from a time period where the entire left was exactly that way. It was 2020, it was peak woke, and it's not going to hit it, like I mentioned. If this interview was done a week ago, if this was done a week ago, it would be like, all shots fired. So this, like, again, while it's shocking to hear these things like being said, even like because we're in a different place now in 2025, it's not going to, it's New York City. What the opposition needs to do in order to cement the win for someone who is not going to be Mamdani is they need to stop attacking him and talk about affordability. That's the only way anybody's going to listen to anybody has to say. That's what Mamdani ran on. If they go, the only community that's not voting for him right now, 100%, is the majority of the Jewish community. Everyone else is open to hearing what he has to say. So that's the problem, is there's no opposition.
Cuomo got 30% more in the black community.
But
Cuomo got 56%. He only got 26%.
That's
Okay,
enough.
okay.
Well, my point is you don't need these communities in order
Right.
you don't need them to win.
Right.
So my point is there needs to be a plan. Right now, everyone's just throwing money at the problem. And what New York City politics, what they don't understand is that the essence of what people are so angry about is money in politics. So they're just literally throwing money, in my opinion, into like a fire pit, because it's all just going to blow up in their faces. And this is why I think everybody's so certain that Mamdani is going to win.
Okay, thank you for that, Haley. And I'm going to bring in Charity. Charity, if you wouldn't mind letting the viewers know where you're chiming in from.
Everybody, I'm here from Austin, Texas.
Wonderful.
Yeah, on this Mamdani topic, in that debate, this has been brought up before, but in that debate, he was the one guy who said, I wouldn't go to a foreign country. I'd stay right here in New York and address the problems that New Yorkers are facing. And I don't necessarily think that his policy solutions are going to fix the problems of New York City. I lived in South Brooklyn during COVID year, had to get right back out of New York for obvious reasons, but his policy solutions are not solutions. But I don't think any of the other candidates are actually putting forward policy solutions that even come close to addressing. I think, Haley, you raised it with affordability. There's literally urine and feces on the street. There's literally bums and piles of rags on the subway. Like, there are major issues in your day that intrude on your day-to-day life. There's crazy city government overreach that intrudes day-to-day on your life in New York City. Coming from Arizona, where you never hear from the government at all, and now in Texas, where there's more governance in Texas than you might think, but compared to New York City, the city government and state government intrudes every single day. So I think he's the only one who's actually listening to what actual New Yorkers are saying about their day-to-day life. And he's the only one who's trying to even address them.
Thank you for that, Charity. Luke from China.
I mean, this is kind of the Charity's correct. I mean, this is the biggest problem with him is that he's the one that is actually looking at, the issues. And it goes right back to the Epstein stuff as well. Is we want somebody who's going to look at the real issues and are going to come out and say, I'm here to fix them and I'm going to fix them. And that's kind of the disappointment is that we're in a four-way race where we have one guy who wants to talk about dogs and taking care of the dogs. We have one guy who doesn't seem like he even wants to be in the race. We have another guy who's a socialist, and then we have got another guy that everybody in the Democratic Party doesn't want anymore. So it's like, who are you going to vote for? And are New Yorkers going to be happy with what they get out of this? Because New York City is having tons of issues. A lot of businesses left because of the taxes in New York City. Some people are thinking about leaving because of who they think is going to come out. And and also like the police, they're having their own issues as well, trying to get people to get into the police force. I mean, of all the things, this is kind of the most disappointing thing going on in America right now, for me.
Thank you for that, Luke. Joshua?
Man, Charity in the chat for the win right there. I was just about to say, why can't y'all New Yorkers just bring back Jimmy McMillan? Right? I love that dude. Somebody bring back Jimmy McMillan. All right, also, break. Also, Luke, question for you regarding Epstein. Okay. Do you believe that Dan Bongino and Kash Patel are telling the truth?
No, I think they're bending it.
Okay, so you think they were telling the truth before they became, so they were telling the truth before they got in the positions that they're in the FBI?
Yeah, because they're what was the result? What if they didn't win? What if Trump didn't win? It's like, okay, they get nothing anyway. So there was nothing to lose with what they're saying.
Okay, all right. Right. But do you understand, but do you see, you know what, maybe you weren't on yesterday. Do you see the point that in this situation and similar situations like this, I'm not going to use the term conspiracy theory as a pejorative. I'm using it just to simply say that there is a theory that this is a conspiracy. Okay, I'm not trying to, all caps conspiracy theory here. All right. But do you cede at least that the concept that Epstein is a Mossad agent or that there's a client list that they're not providing? Do you cede that's not disprovable?
Yeah, I mean, it's not disprovable. I mean, he could be working for Mossad. I mean, you have to remember, Jeannie Maxwell, her father used to be a spy. So there is a spy kind of reference within this kind of group. And so the question is more, how much is he using? They talked about there's 1,000 women who are victims or people as well. And so it's like, are we going to give these 1,000 people not? The whole point of all of this is, why did we vote for Trump in 2016? We voted for Trump in 2016.
I'm sorry. No. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I would hope that you voted for Trump I would hope that you voted for him for more than just simply releasing the Epstein files.
No, I voted for him because I have zero trust in what the government has been giving me since the Bush days when we were told that we were supposed to go to Iraq. And so it's been time after time after time, the government has failed to give us enough information and give us clarity to make us feel like we can trust the government. I mean, this is kind of why people have had an issue with trust in the government since Nixon. And so the issue has been, how can we trust you to give us what we as Americans want in our government when you continually deny us or lie to us or not give us clarity about things that we feel are very important? And that's why a lot of people don't believe in the FBI, the CIA, or any of the three-letter agencies, is because of this. And this just continues it.
and it's because there's something that quote unquote the people want to know that the government is hiding from them. And look, we can go back well before Nixon, right? I mean, we can go back to JFK, we can go back to Woodrow Wilson, we can go back probably further than that as well. But like, even just, look at the Gulf of Tonkin incident, that was the false flag that got us, that got the support, the people support for us to go into Vietnam, right? But so I understand, and I agree with you that there are conspiracies that occur, and in many occasions, maybe most occasions, it's the conspiracies and the cover-ups are covering up shady shit that the intelligence agencies are doing. So I'm not suggesting that Jeffrey Epstein was simply a pedo or a trafficker. I'm also not suggesting that Jeffrey Epstein was Mossad, or that there's some sort of client list with, the names of, hundreds of the most influential Democrats and Republicans on the, on the planet or whatever, right? Like, I'm not suggesting one is more plausible than the other, but I'm suggesting I'm asking, like, what are you looking for? Like, what if Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad agent, and in order to continue negotiation between Iran and Israel and Saudi Arabia and trying to create, an advancement of the Abraham Accords or whatever, like, what if that's a condition?
Well, that could be that is the claim in the background. I think that's what Dan Turrentine was insinuating by Trump being deep state. Now, Luke, just quickly. And then
but does that mean he's deep state, or I mean, because there's a lesser of evils equation when you're in power.
Right. Well, no, this is the end. I'm going to end it with this. What was the reason for the ending in The Watchmen? There was a point about why he sent that information to the media to open up, because, if he had not sent it to him, there would have been world peace. So what was the whole point of him sending this conspiracy information to the newspaper and the consequences behind it? And that's kind of the same feeling I have.
Yeah, but I don't think using a comic book message as an analog for real life geopolitics is necessarily accurate.
Okay, all right. To one of your favorite comic book heroes, let's bring in Peter now. Sorry, Peter. That was the only segue.
Bro, man. you have been on the lam too long. All right.
It's called taking a vacation. Right. It's healthy. It's good for you. But my point to all this is, whether or not you believe what level of conspiracy to which you believe it, I think what no one denies is that there was a really terrible miscommunication and setting of expectation, because, I never expected to get any. I never came in with any expectation of, like, oh, we're going to have the list of all the people that Epstein blackmailed. Like, these are all the rich and famous people. I never really expected that, and I don't think many. Even though, yes, Trump did talk about it during the campaign, not as much as some people say, but he did. And Kash Patel and Dan Bongino certainly did. But I think that the expectations that were set by, specifically, number one, Pam Bondi, in response to the questions, which was specifically used, like I said, client list, like, what about the client list? And she said, it's sitting on my desk, and then staging the photo op with the influencers. It's almost the equivalent to, because there was the disclosure of the various JFK, et cetera, files early on in the administration. And was there a smoking gun in the JFK files? No, there wasn't. But people were not outraged about that fact. They probably would have been if Tulsi Gabbard had given an interview saying, I have the list of all the people who were on the grassy knoll on my desk, or something like that. Um, I think that it's, I think the way, I think that, I don't think that Pam Bondi, like, I think given how this has like become a real issue, I don't think whether it's fair or unfair, I think that Pam Bondi has failed in her job to be the face of the Justice Department in selling this. She has no credibility anymore. I think that she should go, and someone who the people trust, like Harmeet Dillon, or who is a very effective communicator. She goes on these podcasts and talks to people and very well. She should take over, and without guaranteeing anything, should say, we're going to look at we're going to look at this with fresh eyes. I'm not promising you anything. Maybe appoint a special counsel or something like that. We're going to look at this with fresh eyes. I'm not promising anything. I know there was a lawyer who went on News Nation yesterday from Boyes Schiller, who's like one of the big law firms that's been involved in representing Epstein victims, and she said, what she said, and this is like not a tinfoil hat person. This is a lawyer from one of the most respected firms out there, and she said, we're pursuing this civil case against Epstein's accountant and lawyer. And there's a lot of stuff from the DOJ that we're not getting, that we could get help on. So like whoever the new attorney general is, my choice would probably be either Harmeet Dillon or, there's a congressional recess coming up next month, put Matt Gaetz in. But if you don't want to do that,
Oh, no, come on.
if I'm just saying, if it needs to be someone that the base trusts, I think
Gates
that
could be great.
I think that
Oh my God, shut up.
what I will say
Get
is,
out of here. Nobody
anyway,
needs Jimmy Neutron in the Department of Justice, okay?
No,
whatever.
we
It's
need
not. It's not.
we
Not
need
the main.
Gates.
Not the main point. Like someone who has credit, someone who is a good communicator, who has credibility. I mean, Gates has his problem, has his personal, issues in his past. Don't get me wrong. He is actually a very. I will say, I do think he is actually a very. If you actually listen to him talk about issues of substance, at length, he is a very well-spoken and intelligent person, no matter what you may think of things that he has done in his personal life in the past.
What are his problems? He hit on some chicks. Like what did he do that's so wrong?
That's not the point. That's not the main point. That's not the main. That's not. I don't want to get sidetracked on that. The
Okay,
point
let Peter
is,
finish, guys. Go
the
ahead.
point is that the new attorney general, who should be someone who is a good communicator, who is trusted by Trump supporters, whoever that may be. I gave a couple of options. There could be someone else. That person should say, this should outline very clearly, this is what we're going to do. We're going to look at everything with fresh eyes. We're going to cooperate fully with this lawsuit. We're going to turn, and that doesn't even have to be like, because stuff like that, you don't have to give it to the public. We're going to say, we're going to give these people who are pursuing justice for the victims everything they need. We're going to turn over all the documents to them, because that avoids the issues with releasing names into the public without evidence, and go from there.
Thank you for that, Peter. Jen?
I don't know if any of you watched Megyn Kelly's show yesterday, but she had on one of the influencers that was at that meeting of influencers. It was very interesting because she shed a lot of light on what was actually went on in that meeting. And they were well aware that the binders they were given did not have new content. So anyway, it was very interesting to hear that perspective. So I would just recommend that. That's all.
Thank you for that suggestion, Jen. Joshua?
So Matt Gaetz and I graduated from the same law school. We did not attend during the same years, but we did graduate from the same law school. I would expect, and look, my gripe in the very beginning about Matt Gaetz was never that he was, yes, absolutely, was never that he was a hothead or his personal things or whatever. But does anybody know how many days Matt Gaetz has spent practicing law? Zero. 0 days practicing law. Matt Gaetz has never practiced law a day in his life. Okay? How are we going to elevate just because he's got a law degree? How is this person going to run the Department of Justice when he doesn't know when he doesn't know anything about trials, when he doesn't know basically anything about
If
the rules of
Pete
evidence?
Hegseth can run the Defense Department,
Can he though? Can he though?
I don't know. I feel like historically you're a
My
Hegseth
point,
defender.
Well, the thing with
Hegseth defender, I've never been a Hegseth defender.
Okay, all right. Maybe I just misremembered.
The administration, the
misremembered.
day-to-day administration, and I said this on group chat yesterday, the day-to-day administration of any department is primarily done by the deputy secretary. That's why they picked Steve Feinberg to pair with Hegseth, who is a very experienced person. The principal job of the secretary is, number one, to set an overall vision that is executed by the deputy and other people below them, and then to represent that mission to the president and to the public. And Pam Bondi has failed spectacularly at that job. And, the qualifications should not, I was going to type a reply to this, but since I'm talking right now, the qualifications should not be who the base trusts. I actually do think that the president's attorney general, one of the qualifications, maybe not the only one, but one of them, yes, should be that they are an effective communicator with the president's supporters and the public at large.
Okay.
Let me just respond very briefly about Pam Bondi. Just give me 30 seconds. Just 30 seconds. I think Pam Bondi is a fantastic attorney. She was a really good attorney general for the state of Florida. I think she can be an effective attorney general of the United States. I think she botched the communication with this because she's trying to walk a line between pleasing Trump and pleasing the MAGA community, and also being an attorney who's protecting victims and working within the lines of legal ethics, rules of evidence, and rules of procedure. That's what I think. I think she's flubbed this Epstein communication, but I don't think that's a reason for her to go. I think that's a reason for her to take the grace that Donald Trump gave her in the cabinet meeting and learn from it and do better. But I think she's a good attorney general.
Okay. All right. ML, with your hand up.
I want to reject the notion that we need a special.
Just because I have to go. So I just wanted to remind everybody that there's the link in the bottom for the event on August 9th for the Central Park picnic. So we would really love to see everybody there. If you need more details, you can talk to me or Professor Kenny or Deborah, and we'll get that to you. But
are we inviting members of the Mondami campaign to communicate with us?
Friendlies only.
Who's invited?
Well, no. I'd like to meet them. Being that I'm 9/11 first responder decorated by.
Okay, thanks, Haley.
I
wanted to go back to and please do not bring up a special counsel. We don't need that is overly complicating the situation, and we don't need to go there. All that needs to happen is it's very simple. Transparency. That's it. We already got the people up there that the base trust. If we're going to go by that measure, it's called the people that Trump put into thing. Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, and Pam Bondi are it. That's who we're getting. Nobody's getting fired, and they just need transparency, and they need a better PR game, which everybody from that Maureen O'Connor who was very good perspective, by the way. It's simple. I read a headline that they were taking it to court to see what they could release or whatever. So I think they heard the message. It's loud and clear. We just got to be patient a little bit. But we don't need a special counsel. We don't need a new AG. None of this stuff. This is crazy talk. This is crazy talk. You're overly complicating it, and you're gonna make a combustible conspiracy theory 10 times worse if you move or shuffle people around, because it's just going to look really, really bad. That is the wrong way to go. Like we did this special counsel and it's too much. It's too much. Like, in my opinion, just keep it simple.
Thank you, ML. And I reposted on my Varshney Report X account apparently in one of the court cases, Ghislaine or one of the like the list has already been released, at least one of them, the flight logs or whatever. So I'll put that link in the chat. Frank, I heard something from our friend in Massachusetts. Frank, if you would care to share.
All right. Okay, Pam Bondi. She came out with this book binder, and now we hear that the influencers in the room were aware that there was nothing new in it. But still, it was nice to flash the book outside. Anyway, so it seemed to me at the time that she wanted, and the department and the administration wanted to get this information out. Now, a couple days ago, Trump makes this very awkward, interjection at the cabinet meeting that really sounded completely not Trump. It sounded it just sounded very strange. That people might comment on it, but they haven't commented that much. It was sort of like uncharacteristically ineffective in the stated purpose of stopping the conversation. Actually, it inflamed the conversation. Now, was that intentional or not? Now, what depresses me about this whole situation is that somehow that between then and now, the Trump administration has decided that this is not going to go forward. And why is that? Why did they decide this? I mean, is it because of pressure from some outside organization that possibly has power over the president and the administration? Why isn't Ghislaine, talking more? She's in jail. Maybe she can get out early. Why is this information not coming out? But anyway, it's sort of depressing to think that this administration is being controlled from other elements. Now, maybe they think, well, maybe the perpetrators were victims themselves, and it's no doubt that this Epstein fellow. Well, there's doubt about everything, but it's likely that his job as blackmailer. It was sponsored by someone else, but maybe it's his own business. If it is his own business, he had to have a staff, to go through these tapes and make sure that machines were running and this kind of thing, because he is busy doing other things. So, and to install this stuff, is he, anyway, who is that staff? Are they secret agents? Are they just employees that haven't been identified? All this kind of stuff. So anyway, but it's kind of distressing to me, whatever you think about Trump, that the government seems to have caved under some kind of pressure. And it's got to be pretty intense, I think. And,
a lot of great questions, Frank. And the answer may just be, why was the big, beautiful bill able to be passed so quickly, right? And the pressure was applied. Vincent from New York.
No, but wouldn't it be fun if they had a special prosecutor and they had like Comey and Mueller? Bring the old thing. And I think William Webster's still alive. He's still alive. So he should bring all the 3 FBI guys back on, right? That would be like it would be like the super dream team of special prosecutors to get to the bottom of the list of men who had sex with underage women. We must know. And then we could then the FBI, instead of going after sex trafficking and wondering where the 320,000 underage children are, and the threats to America by for another 9/11, we can spend the FBI and dig into the research to find out about who the list of the list of men who've had sex with underage women, of a man that was pled guilty in 2008, who served time in 2009, who was a terrible human being, but who committed suicide in 2019, and now we have Gen Zs wondering whatever happened, but they don't know he cut a deal with the state of Florida, having been doing this for over 20 years, and of course, his lawyer that cut the deal was Dershowitz. So it's like, okay, so we're gonna get to the bottom of it, okay? And look, I look. So we have $37 trillion in national debt. We have two wars. To be frank with you, yeah, Epstein's a horrible human being. I've been involved in raising money to help women in halfway houses that have been sex trafficked. I've donated to that. I've donated money, Subway cards and Walmart gift cards and backpacks to help these women. And it's just the American people have no idea the enormity of sex trafficking in the United States. And for whatever reason, this Epstein thing has gotten into people's heads, and it was made into a campaign
Yeah.
situation by Trump in 2016, and then people hooked on it. And Epstein was always a Democratic scandal. He raised tens of millions of dollars for Democratic PACs. He donated, and so it's like, here it is all these years later, and everybody wants to get to the bottom of it. And, okay, get to the bottom of it. So then, but you heard the
Oh,
woman from the FBI. There was a woman on the FBI on the call today, and she was saying exactly what I said last night. There has to be conducted extensive research by the FBI for the list. You don't just take a list from the convicted felon and say, here's the list. Okay?
Right. No, Vincent, and I think somewhere in there you came up with a script for a literal Three Stooges movie, right? The actual Three Stooges, Comey and whatever else. But
And I think the American public is spending an enormous amount of time on something that after listening to Andre for a year, I feel that is a much larger American issue. Okay, Ukraine, and obviously October 7th. So
okay,
it's like we're
I
going
get it,
over
Vincent.
this. We're going over the same thing over and over and over about Epstein.
It is. We are all victim to the news cycle, so to speak. But let's get back to the key
And
here.
lastly,
Yes.
if Janet Reno was the AG, what would she have done different than Bonnie?
Okay, good one. Peter.
Well, I mean, first of all, like Janet Reno is not we shouldn't be like, are we setting the bar at Janet Reno now? Like, really? But no, so to the points that certain people made in response to things that I said, oh, is Josh gone? Oh, well. Look, ML, you went off
Nope,
about,
I'm here.
you're back. Sorry. Like, I was throwing different things out there that wasn't my main point. And to what Josh said, it might not be, and there's a big part of me that's like, why are we still talking about this? There's all these other things that are going on. It's not the biggest area of it's annoying, but it's not the biggest area of concern for me personally because I never had any expectations of anything. But and it might not be fair to Pam Bondi. I think that she is a really capable lawyer. I just think that she is like correcting. I think that at this point, correcting the PR does require, to address what you said in chat, ML. I think, and we can, it's a point where there can be valid disagreements. I just think that part of correcting the PR does require a different face of the department. I do think that all things considered, Harmeet Dillon would probably be the best choice. She's already there. She's been Senate confirmed. She is actually she's a very experienced lawyer. She's done a great job with the Civil Rights Division, and she is a strong and effective communicator. And to Andre's point, that's absolutely correct. The AG does go in front of Congress regularly, and I think that beyond the interview where she said it's on my desk and the binder thing, those are specific examples. But I just think that those are just I think those are examples of the fact that, fairly or not, I don't think that Bondi has the ability to inspire confidence and loyalty in large groups of people. Say what she doesn't have the ability to create a constituency that will advocate for her and support her through mistakes and rough times. Say what you will about Pete Hegseth, and I think that he does have the ability. He's shown the ability to inspire a constituency that will have his back when problems have arisen, and that's why he's survived thus far. And I don't think that Pam Bondi has the ability to do that. That doesn't reflect on her ability to practice law in any way, but I think it does reflect on her ability to be the face of the DOJ and a communicator on behalf of the president in this position.
Thank you for that, Peter. Yeah, I'd love to interview that nanny or whoever, James O'Keefe, right, the hidden camera with Pam Bondi just so casually over coffee. Yeah. It's like, what is this all about? Who knows, right? More questions come from that than answers. Jen from Oklahoma, how you doing?
I just wanted to bring up something that came up with that influencer in the Megyn Kelly interview yesterday. When they came out that kind of back entrance there at the White House with those binders, there happened to be a whole group of your regular media people right there on the grass next to that or by that door, because I guess there were other things that were going on at the White House that day that they were, looking to catch on camera. Anyway, so when that group came out, they were kind of unexpected, and the media asked them to hold up their binders so they could see what they were. So they didn't just come out flashing them like, ha, 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 look what we've got, and actually a lot of them were very upset because when they saw what was going on and what the immediate messages were, they didn't want to be clickbait, and they wanted to be able to say what actually had happened and what these binders were, but they were held back by the White House from being able to communicate that for, I think, at least a half an hour. And by then it was kind of all the big story and everything. But anyway, it wasn't quite what it had purported to be in the media. That's all.
Thank you for that, Jen. Luke?
One of the things I do think that would be great with Janet Reno is that we would have much better dance parties. That was always my favorite thing for those who are SNL fans. No, the thing is, the whole point about this is just my trust on the government is extremely low with, after with the SEC not being able to arrest CEOs and other people within the Enron issues and other groups, and having all these like high level people being able to kind of just do what they want to do, there was a hope that there would be somebody who would kind of jump around everyone else and kind of just take everybody back to the woodshed and get it all fixed. And my hope was Donald Trump. My belief was that Donald Trump would be the one who would be able to take everything and either fix it or scare everybody to death about having another Donald Trump, that they would actually try to fix everything. And I am very disappointed. And that's why I think a lot of people, especially the younger people, are disappointed, because they were hoping that we could get our house in order so that we could go against China and other places. Because right now, I feel like there's no hope if this is how it's going to continue.
Yeah, thank you for that, Luke. And what goes through my head is like, if I'm getting a massage by some younger individual. I mean, it's just like I'm in the wrong place. I should be questioning my life choices. So these innocents that went on Epstein Island, come clean, just talk about it. Just go, that was, maybe I wasn't in the right circles in that part of my life. I don't know. It's just like kind of crazy to think that you could go through that. ML, with your hand up.
Yeah, I think I just want to acknowledge Peter's point and Jen's point about this. I mean, Jen brought it up like that was back in February with the whole binders, kerfluffle, all that stuff. I am more on Josh's side, and I can see where Pam Bondi hasn't been necessarily as spectacular on camera and talking like as a Pete Hegseth, like where it's just he'll pick a fight at the drop of a hat and he doesn't suffer any consequences for it. But Pam Bondi speaks, and there's this thing there, like where it kind of makes her look like she might be operating at a level below where she needs to be at. Just being honest, for at least as far as the Epstein things go. Other DOJ things, I think she's been fine on, but to be fair with those points, so I can understand why why people, thanks to Peter and other people talking about this, like why and even Daryl, in his opinion, like there is no confidence. Is essentially at the root of it.
Thank you for that, ML. Andrij, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I didn't want to type this in the response. I posted one of the articles from February. The influencers are not upset when you put them on camera and get them clicks. I don't understand what Megyn Kelly's guests were trying to say there, as if they didn't want the attention. I mean, they were live streaming that day, everything in the binder. So I didn't understand that, Jen, about what was said. You were saying on Megyn Kelly's show that they were caught off guards about holding the binder up.
Well, the reputation might be on the line. I mean, they might have been cajoled into it. We did that with workers.
Right, but I mean, the whole point of and these were people like DC Drano and people that I would not share, but I mean, if you're an influencer, you're there for attention no matter what. I mean, the whole thing is to drive.
Well, that's I think the no matter what question, right? I mean, now the reputations are whatever.
Yeah. I'm just saying that when they were at the White House, and if the media asked them to pick up their binders, that's a good thing for them. They want the clicks. They want pictures of them at the White House with binders.
All I'm saying is they were aware when they walked out the door, these were not binders of the whole thing with all
okay.
They were well aware that these binders were, here is what we were given when Pam Bondi said, here's what we were given when we came in to the office. Okay. And she said, you'll notice it's thin, that there's not a lot here and none of it new. So they were well aware of what they had. So they weren't leaving the White House with any expectation on their part that they had been given some big new thing to put out there into the world.
Okay.
And they weren't expecting when they walked through the door that they were going to be on camera either.
The cameras are there before they come in and out. I mean, the cameras are always there.
Well, what I'm saying is this group of people aren't necessarily people who've been to the White House before.
Okay.
They were influencers, and none of them knew what they were being asked to the White House to be there for. When they got there was going to be a whole group of them. So they were all kind of in the dark with the invitation on what it was about. At least this is what she said. I didn't know this person. I haven't seen her before. Apparently she's somebody who has a show on The Blaze. Anyway, she said, it was very exciting to be invited to the White House, and they were all in a room together. And they actually got to hear from a lot more than just Pam Bondi. And the president came in and he walked him over to the Oval Office and gave him a tour. I mean, it was kind of like that bit about the binder was just kind of a minor amount of the content that was talked about with them that during that long meeting they had.
Oh, to the point I raised with Peter earlier, this is exactly the kind of thing that people are going to bring up during a hearing. Like, What did you bring those people in? Who were those people? Why did you select them, etc.? This is why this doesn't end anytime soon, because the Attorney General is going to be in front of Congress several times this year alone.
Okay. Anything else you wanted to say, Jen?
No, just I would say it's valuable to watch that interview because it shed a lot of light on things. I have a different perspective of it after watching it than I had from before. So
thank you for that, Jen. Joshua, to close us out.
Yeah, last thing I ever want to say about Epstein, whether that proves to be true or not. For what it's worth, I think all things considered, I think Pam Bondi is maybe getting rolled a little bit by the people who are. I think Pam Bondi might be getting rolled, might be getting scapegoated a little bit in this Epstein thing. I don't think Pam Bondi had anything to do with Epstein. The Attorney General of Florida isn't reviewing. So, for example, I know I've heard that people have said, like, well, she was Attorney General or whatever when he was prosecuted in Palm Beach. Oh, she wasn't, right?
No.
Okay. I remembered when we were having this discussion, maybe 5 minutes ago now, I remembered the tape of Rudy Giuliani when he laid back and like unzipped his pants because he's a real, dirty creep.
Yes, Borat, the Borat.
Yes. Okay. Look, I'm not the type of person who thinks that type of behavior is rare amongst older men in powerful positions. Okay. I remember when Donald Trump said, you can, they'll let you grab them by the, what, and everything else. He banged Stormy Daniels. Okay. He's had 3 different, wives. It is what it is. What I'm saying is that I believe that there is a list. I just don't know. I just don't know what we expect the government to do about it when the person in charge of the government may very well be on that list. Like I don't know why there's any other expectation. And I think MAGA's got to know that. Like, right? Like, Donald Trump had extensive relationships with Epstein.
Well, the counter is he took
extensive
Epstein out
contact.
of, he banned Epstein from the country club when there was some rude behavior. But we're going to carry on this conversation on Zoom, folks. So hang tight as we cut live.
Sorry if we cut anyone off, but that's a wrap. Remember, you can catch us live Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern. It's your chance to join the conversation and have your voice heard. Just check the link in the description or visit americastalk.show. Together, through the free exchange of ideas, we can truly make America great again. Don't miss out. Tune in and be part of the dialogue.